So look, I'm sure y'all done heard a million times this offseason that the Washington Commanders are set to have the third most salary cap in the NFL, which is true. We're set to have $75 million this offseason. But what if I told you there's a way Washington could overlap that and turn 75 mil to over 100 million? After I saw the article, I said, oh yeah, cuz, this real? I felt like that one head coach in the locker room. Show me my money.
Tell them to bring me my money.
So in today's video, we're going to be going over the 5 scenarios that could land Washington over $100 million in salary cap if they decide to do these moves. Let's talk about it.
The way that we live is not for everybody. We're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's on.
You know what time it is. It's time to come out.
I love the way she move it, shake it on me.
What's good, y'all? It's your man Juangotti here. Before we get into today's video, I want to ask you guys to do me a favor and subscribe to my fitness channel as I'm documenting my journey from fat to fit. Link down below in the description. So I want to ask for you guys' participation in today's video as we're going to go over the different scenarios, and I want you guys to comment which one would you do if you was Adam Peters, or would you not even entertain none of these moves because you're fine with $75 million that we already had. So as the sports anchor that I desire to be in my life, you can call me Stephen A. Gotti. I feel like it's best that you always cite your sources. So shout out to Rigo's Rags for allowing us to view this article and seeing what would be the best move for the Washington Commanders to make to have more cap space. So the first move that can net Washington a little bit more cap space is cutting tackle Andrew Wylie. The Washington Commanders could save over $7.75 million by making this move. Now look, I'm gonna be honest with you. If this was an option last season, I would have cut Andrew Wylie with the quickness. But this season, he drastically improved under new coaching by Bobby Johnson and a whole new offensive scheme of Cliff Kingsbury. Like a lot of guys under the last regime on the offensive side of the ball, they struggled in Eric Bieniemy's system. And I think Andrew Wylie was a pure culprit of that, because you can't tell me in 1 year he's just significantly better without the scheme being an issue. And I don't see them cutting Andrew Wylie, to be honest with you, but if they decided to do that, maybe their plan is to move Brandon Coleman to right tackle or potentially draft a right tackle, but I don't see that being a smart move considering the fact that you could potentially have some uncertainty at left tackle. You have some people in the fan base that believe Brandon Coleman is not a left tackle in this league, and you have others that aren't quite ready to give up on him. And that being said, you don't have a direct answer on whether the team still believes in Brandon Coleman's ability to be the left tackle or if they're going to try something new in free agency or in the draft. If I had to take a guess, I would assume that they would address left tackle in free agency. If not, they would run it back with Brandon Coleman. Now going back to the article, it says Washington fatalities in the trenches were exposed in no uncertain term during their defeat in the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game, with right guard Sam Cosmi set to miss most, if not all, of 2025 campaign with a torn ACL. General Manager Adam Peters needs to treat the protection in front of Jaden Daniels with the urgency it deserves. And that's really true. We know we need better protection for 5. You seen when 5 is upright, he can't be stopped. And thus far, they're already proving my point as to why I think we should not cut Andrew Wylie, because I feel like not cutting him allows you to look elsewhere at other positions. If you do cut Andrew Wylie, that's just creating another hole on your offensive line. You're already without right guard Sam Cosmi for a while, and you already have uncertainty at left. Why create another hole that doesn't need to be created? Continuing on, it says this bears special significance on the edge. Left tackle Brandon Coleman did well, but went through some rookie growing pains. He got a productive career ahead of him, but that might be on the interior when it's all said and done. Andrew Wylie occupied right tackle spot and didn't give up a sack according to Pro Football Focus. focus. However, the two-time Super Bowl winner struggled on the island and failed to make his presence felt on running plays effectively. Now, when you put it that way, if Washington cuts Andrew Wylie because they want more production out of the run game and they want more aggressiveness on the offensive line because they plan on having a better run game next season, I could see that. However, as they just said, Pro Football Focus isn't God, but he didn't give up a sack this year, so you gotta make sure if you decide to move on from him that this guy can pass block just as good as he can run block. But ending off of the Andrew Wylie segment of the article, it says if the Commanders can find an upgrade this offseason, they should. Wylie is making too much money to be a backup, so releasing him with the $7.75 million in cap savings attached couldn't be completely dismissed. The next thing that can net Washington more cap space is restructuring the contract of Daron Payne. Now look, y'all already know how I feel about Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. If it was up to me, both of their ass would be gone. Forget restructuring, they will be gone. Especially with Myles Garrett out there. Oh yeah, they'd have been in the trade package, both of them. But it says, I went back and forth with this one. Daron Payne performance haven't been up to the required standard more often than not. He's got the physical tools to be dominant, but it's starting to look like his 2022 campaign when he achieved 11.5 sacks and made the Pro Bowl was an anomaly. Man, who you telling, Slim? I'm looking for Daron Payne like where's Waldo, bro? Where's Daron? Where's Daron, bro? Because after that 11.5 sack season, fool, I thought he was about to turn up. But I'm lying, actually, bro. I knew for some reason it was too good to be true, if I'm going to be honest with you. But I was all for bringing him back at the time, so I can't even be mad that we decided to do it. The Commanders deciding to restructure Daron Payne contract could net them over $12.53 million in cap space. However, it is pretty difficult to get off. Cutting him comes with a $25.8 million in dead cap. Trading him brings it down to $16.8 million with a $9.38 million in savings attached. That's not especially smart unless Adam Peters gets another offer they cannot refuse. So when it comes to trading one of these guys, it probably would be better to trade Jonathan Allen because you have too much money tied up to Daron Payne. But again, as he just mentioned, unless it's like, hey, we'll give you Myles Garrett, but you gotta give us Daron Payne in this deal, that may be something that you just can't refuse and have to eat the dead money. The next thing Washington could do to save salary cap is by extending wide receiver Terry McLaurin. It can save you $14.3 million. Now it's crazy because just a couple weeks ago I was just looking at Terry McLaurin's contract and saying, dang, where the heck did those 3 years go? Because he's on the final year of his deal coming up this year. And I was like, man, you know what? Terry should be up for a contract extension, or I would extend him right now if I was Adam Peters. That would be a priority on my list. And now knowing that we could save $14 million attached to it, I feel like it's a no-brainer. It says Terry McLaurin thrived this season. Nobody deserves a franchise caliber presence under center more than the wide receiver, I agree, who stayed professional and put up with outstanding numbers despite the constant stem of failed trades, free agent signings, and draft picks at football's most important position. McLaurin and Jaden Daniels hit it off immediately. The pass catcher challenged his rookie quarterback and vice versa. They were nothing short of phenomenal through the campaign, which resulted in the former third-round pick out of Ohio State securing a Pro Bowl and second-team All-Pro honors along the way. Ah, come on, Riggos Rags. You got me reminiscing, knowing football is no longer in our presence just got me thinking about JD5 throwing the tud to Terry McLaurin right now.
His launch from McLaurin. He's got it. Touchdown!
Continuing on, it says the Washington Commanders should extend McLaurin at some stage this offseason. He's got one more year on his deal, but remains an integral part of the long-term plans. Getting him more help in the receiver room would be wise, but this seems like a sound investment for a cornerstone piece and one of the league's most prolific contested catch weapons. Man, who you telling? Terry deserves yet another contract. He deserves to be a Commander for life, and again, even though he's 29, are going to be on the verge of 30 at the beginning of next season. You have a guy in a game that ages well. He's not this guy that just thrives off of speed. Again, as you mentioned, he's one of the best contested catchers in the NFL, so Terry could play well into his early 30s if you ask me. McLaurin's influence off the field as a locker room alpha only lends further weight to his extension chances, something that could also save the Commanders around $14.3 million on their salary cap in 2025 based on projections. It's a no-brainer, and it's no more than the player deserves. We're getting down the home stretch of the video, so if you haven't liked it, please do, and if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do that as well. The Washington Commanders could save $16.47 million in cap space by trading or cutting defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. The article goes on to say, then there's Jonathan Allen. The Washington Commanders have a complex conundrum on their hands with the veteran defensive tackle. His leadership in the locker room is an unquestioned thing. However, his performance level has regressed considerably over the last 2 seasons. And man, I swear I've been saying that for the last couple of years. Jonathan Allen on the field don't do much, but pre-game and hyping you up and giving you a speech, he can get you to run through a brick wall for him, but he can't produce how he once was able to. Allen's standout showing in Washington's divisional round at Detroit demonstrates his qualities. Maintaining the level of consistency is the tricky part these days. Again, it's not that Jonathan Allen is trash, it's just that consistently, can he play at a good enough level to still be around, and can he still play at enough level to contribute to this defensive line? I don't know. They continue on to say the Commanders will take into account Allen's importance in the locker room, as he influences that a lot. He's got one more year on no guarantee money remaining on his deal. If Johnny Newton flourishes, Daron Payne gets a reprieve, and Washington acquires another produces interior force, this former first-round pick out of Alabama becomes expendable. And this is very interesting because remember a couple weeks ago I made a video on how Washington is going to be interested in Odigizua from the Dallas Cowboys, who has ties to Dan Quinn, and he can replace Jonathan Allen. He's much younger and has much more upside. That gives Johnny Newton an opportunity to not only potentially start, but give Johnny Newton another year to get his feet wet and learn and grow, and that allows Daron Payne to potentially play up somebody different that is going to maybe bring him back to his old self. Continuing on with the article, it says that gives Peters 2 choices in this scenario. The Commanders can exceed trade possibilities for Allen. There may not be a robust market for the 2-time Pro Bowler, but a couple of contending teams might throw a late-round pick to secure his services. If the Commanders want to do right by Allen, they could release him and choose his next destination. Either way, Peters would have an extra $16.47 million to spend in free agency by trading or cutting one of the team's longest-serving players. Similar to the Terry McLaurin extension, I feel like cutting Jonathan Allen makes too much sense not to do. I'm thankful for what J.A. was able to do here in Washington, being one of our longest tenured players, and him being a Northern VA guy growing up as a fan of the team. I appreciate him for that, but his services are no longer needed, especially if you're telling me we could save over $16.47 million and have that put towards our total balance that we can add to spending in free agency. What are we talking about? It's a no-brainer. So the last thing Washington could do to acquire more cap space for this upcoming free agency and offseason is restructuring the contract of cornerback Marshon Lattimore. You doing that can save $12.55 million in cap space. Adam Peters' boldest move so far was acquiring star cornerback Marshon Lattimore via trade from the New Orleans Saints. The general manager was methodical with his roster construction up to that point. Their earlier resurgence, much sooner than expected, saw from the front office's moves and his leaders to be a little bit more aggressive. It wasn't an easy situation for Lattimore, as he came into the organization with a hamstring already. This restricted him to get 2 games under his belt during the regular season before it flared up again. The 4-time Pro Bowler returned to the postseason, but he never looked truly healthy. And you guys remember watching Marshon Lattimore in the postseason. He didn't truly look like himself, and I do think his hamstring hamstring was still bothering him, and it just was never 100%. Even when he held out for the last couple of weeks before the postseason, it just was never right. And I think a full off season could do him wonders. Although this was disappointing, Peters made his stance on Lattimore abundantly clear. They acquired him for the future as well as the present. The Commanders also expect him to return to his old form with the full offseason to learn the defense and, more importantly, get healthy in the coming months. That is the smart path to take, giving Peters supreme confidence in Lattimore and the fact that he's going to be 2 years remaining on his deal, working out of a contract reconstruction with the former first-round pick out of Ohio State seems like a realistic avenue to go down. Lattimore is still getting paid either way. A restructuring is projected to save the Commanders $11.46 million on Washington's salary cap. So here's the thing about that. I don't think they're going to restructure his deal. I think the way Adam Peters feels about Marshon Lattimore, he thinks he's worth every penny that he's getting paid. He just simply had an injury, and he was willing to put up with that injury due to the potential of his future here in Washington. We know what Marshon Lattimore is all about. We know what we saying out there isn't the Marshon Lattimore that we all seen in New Orleans. So they firmly believe, and I firmly believe, that a full off season is going to allow Marshon Lattimore to get back to his old self. He's going to be that shutdown corner that we traded for. So there you have it. Let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section down below. Is any of these scenarios intriguing to you? There are a couple that are intriguing to me, like cutting Jonathan Allen and extending Terry McLaurin, just to name the two that I really like the most. But what says you out there? Leave it down below in the comment section. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate it if you haven't reached that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. You have a blessed one. Stay safe. Be easy out there. Peace.